Bobby, rich and tall, they got the rhythm and the hype. Talking about the noise brigade, stirring up noise all night. They dive deep into the madness. No topic left unturned, from corn dog to Johnny Bench. It's the knowledge we have learned, LRG have learned. LRG shipping woes, they shed light on it all. No cryptids left unknown, they'll tear down every wall. The rebels of the podcast world, breaking all the rules, giving voice to the unheard, making sure no one falls. From wrestling to mysteries, they cover it all. Bobby, Rich, and Tom, they'll never let us fall.
Is there a Mario character that's on meth?
What about the turtle dinosaurs that crumble?
You could do Matt Rickety
Yeah.
Yeah. Rickety,
or
all right,
McPoyle.
So Rickety Cricket would be Dry Bones.
Yeah, that's
Right?
perfect.
Yeah, dry bones.
That's perfect.
So
All right, so we got Dennis as Waluigi, Danny DeVito as Wario. You say Caitlin Olsen as Birdo,
yeah,
right?
or Ostro. Well, ostrich. No, she'd have to be Ostro. Like remember the ostriches in Super Mario Bros. 2?
Oh yeah. That's such a yeah.
She's a fucking ostrich.
Yeah.
So then let's see. So the McPoyles. What would the McPoyles be? Would the McPoyles be the Shy Guys because they wear the little robes?
Yep.
Oh man.
How about the waitress?
The waitress could be Daisy.
Okay.
Waitress could be Daisy.
I can buy that.
Let's see. And then
Artemis?
Artemis could be Wart. And let's see. So we got the McPoyles. We got. Oh, who's Mac going to be? Is Mac going to be Birdo?
I mean, that works.
Yeah, I think Mac is because he comes in a rainbow of colors.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, so Mac would be Birdo, or would Mac be? No. You know who Mac would be? Mac would be a Ninja.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So there we go. So that's the entire cast, because obviously Charlie Day is still Luigi. So
I like it.
I think we just cast the rest of the Super Mario Brothers 2.
We need a Bowser, though.
Well, Bowser's still gonna be Jack Black.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna keep the rest of the cast the way they are.
I got you.
But we're casting the rest of the characters that are coming in the sequel with It's Always Sunny characters.
All right. Yep.
Who's going to be Boo? Be what? Mary Elizabeth or?
No, that's the waitress. She's gonna be Daisy.
Oh yeah.
Wait, who could Gail the Snail be?
Gail the Snail? She could be. Oh, that's a good question. She could be Boo. No, I don't know. I don't know who the fuck she could be. Wait, she could be
One of the Yoshi characters?
Toadette.
No, let's make her. Yeah, there's no snail characters, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe she could be Wart, and then Artemis could be Artemis could be what? Could be what was the?
What about the
name?
witch? On the broomstick?
Magic Koopa?
Yeah.
That's already. He was already in the last one.
Oh, okay.
So let's go. Artemis is going to be Mouser, or or Fry Guy, the fireball dude,
Mm-hmm.
because she blows fire out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, welcome
All
to
right.
the Noise Brigade.
I've gathered you all here today. No, we did a fun
That's my
80s.
intervention.
Yeah, that's it. We did a fun 80s movie, episode, couple episodes, whatever you're gonna call it. I know Kyler actually got your input on that one, and it kind of was the precursor to setting this one up. I was kind of looking around because I was like, oh yeah, we talked about, and we'll eventually do this. We'll do like a 90s movie one where we find some random list or just look at different things. But this one was a fun one, and this was actually posted originally a few years ago by Game Informer, and it's video game related and it's console related. And I think we should put a precursor out for this one. And Bob, I'm looking at you when I say this. We're going to play this vanilla with the titles that these were released with. No emulator crap, because we could easily just pick the Dreamcast and be like, or the Xbox, and it picks. You know what I mean?
I wasn't going to go that route.
All right, I'm just. All right, so anyway, we have a list here of 9 consoles, and you can only pick 3 to take with you. The rest of them are kind of obliterated from existence. And so the consoles are the original Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64, Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, the Nintendo GameCube, and the I believe is the Xbox or the Xbox 360?
That's a 360.
That's the 360. And the Xbox 360, I'm sorry. There you go.
It's the Slim, not the one that had all the red ring problems.
Okay, yeah. So it's a good Xbox 360.
But I feel like that's part of the mystique. Like it's part of the package with the Xbox 360.
Right. Yeah. So there's your things, and I think they could actually say the same thing with the way this picture was framed, because it's the looks to be the original Genesis, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
That's one of the Model 1s.
Yeah, it looks to be the original PS2. It's definitely not the Slim, and everything else looks to be obviously pretty original. So, and these are the Americanized versions. We're not talking about any overseas, Japanese, whatever. So, pick 3 consoles. I don't know how you guys want to do this, but I think this will be fun. Open up some debate. Who wants to go with picking one at least that they would take with them?
I'm gonna go NES right off the bat, because honestly, without that, you don't have any of the rest in the US. The NES came after the crash, and a lot of companies were like really wary of putting anything video game related back into the market, and Nintendo actually did, and they had to fight to do it. It was a limited release in the New York market in the 1985 Christmas season, and it just kind of ramped up from there. It took off. And let's face it, pretty much if you have a favorite video game series, there's a high chance that it started on the NES. So my first take, it's an automatic of NES.
Yeah, Bob, I'm the same exact way with you, man. Without that system, it just didn't start anything. And I mean, there's so many iconic games that came from that system, and just like, I mean, that system came out when I was 7, so like that was like at the height of like young video game Bink, so like it was just perfect. I remember even saving my own like birthday money just to buy the NES.
The crazy thing with that system too, and I think a lot of it, we've talked about this many times on here before about the price of titles and stuff. Do you guys recall like those games for that were still $40-$50?
Yeah,
back then, which is crazy to think about now. But that was definitely one of mine, and for that same reason, it was the first console I ever had. I have a lot of fond memories. I actually still have my original console.
Me too.
I don't have a lot of the titles that I once had for various reasons of getting into the selling video games. Thanks a lot, Funko Land.
Right.
But no, I still have the original, my original Nintendo, and I still have the Nintendo Power stickers over the controllers. So Yeah, no, definitely. That's a home run for me. There's obviously, if I'm picking 3 from that list of 9, that's an obvious one for me.
You know what's
So-
another interesting thing came from that original system too was the boomerang controller. Just how much that revolutionized controllers for all systems later on.
For the you're talking about the Super Nintendo?
No, NES had a boomerang controller. I had it. It's got because you could hit the turbo button and keep it locked on, especially in Mario Brothers 3.
Oh, the Max controller?
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's like the first boomerang controller. You think about it.
Yeah, because I never had one of those. I had the regular ones that came with the I did have one that was aftermarket. I've talked about it here before. That was infrared. So it was wireless. So you plugged a giant infrared adapter into the port in the front, and then you use like, I don't know how many batteries it was, 4, 6, whatever, and probably made the controller about 5 pounds. And if you had to be obviously a line of sight with about 10 feet, but you could play wirelessly. And I'm sure the lag was awful, being a third party or whatever, but that was the late 80s, maybe 1990.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're right, though. That I don't know. I don't recall anything, at least that I remember. I remember seeing that, but I don't recall anything prior to that. Of course, there wasn't a whole lot to work with either.
Mm-hmm.
Atari wasn't going to be the Atari.
No, Atari had wireless controllers.
They had what?
They did?
Atari had wireless controllers. They
No, not wireless.
wireless.
I was talking about Boomerang.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Randall, but the Atari it had those like old radio antennas that came up, and that's
right.
how it actually. It was super weird, but it did exist.
Was it by like Morse code or?
Yeah, it would connect. It was like what are they called? Telegraph.
Yeah.
Kyler, what was your what was your first one you're keeping?
Man, so shockingly, I grew up not really being into video games. The first console was actually when I started playing was with my dad. When he moved from Ohio to Tennessee, he got laid off at the plant, and I would go and he had a Super Nintendo. And so he had like a handful of games, and I remember him like he had the original F-Zero. He had Mortal Kombat 2. He had like Tetris and a couple other those games. And then he had the Bassmasters Classic Pro Edition from 1995. Those games, and me and him would sit down and play together on those games. So like that's my first. It's got to be my first system because like that was my introduction to video games. And I wasn't really like super addicted to it except for the Bassmasters Classic video game, obviously, but like I love playing Mortal Kombat and F-Zero a lot. So
and it's not like you have 10 fishing poles behind you right now.
Yeah,
in
right.
frame.
oh,
Bink, just in case
try like 25.
in case you don't know the big joke on this one is Kyler is a professional fisherman.
Oh.
So that's
Yeah, Kyle,
Yeah.
if you want to promote the Bink, because we might get like 5 other listens, so go for it.
Well, we'll do that later. It ain't a big deal. I basically just give my money to other people. It's my form of gambling. So, but this way it's kind of somewhat justified. So, but yeah, like that's Super Nintendo. I would actually, Dad kept it in his bedroom, so like I could only play it during the day. Like I couldn't go, like either he was off doing something, I'd go in there and I'd play, or like I'd have to play with him, play video games with him. Any other time, like I couldn't go in there and play video games. And that was my introduction to video games. So that's my first console.
yeah. All right. So I guess I'll go next. I'll go. We'll cycle back through. This one's gonna be hard because, like, the Nintendo's easy. That one's hands down for me, at least. And for you, Bink, and you, Tom. Yeah, I think that was kind of slam dunk. When it comes to the next two, I've gone back and forth the entire time we've been talking, trying to figure out what I'm going to use. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with what popped into my mind first, and I'm going to go Sega Genesis. And because the Atari was the first console I had, Nintendo was the first one I got for Christmas that was mine. You know, the Atari was like the family thing. The NES was my console. And then the Genesis was my second console. And with the Genesis, I started getting to play the games that I remember playing in the arcade. I was getting to play at home. So like Golden Axe, I played in the arcade. Oh shoot, I can play Golden Axe at home. Sonic the Hedgehog, which I didn't play in the arcade, but was completely different from anything else I had played at that point. Getting to play NBA Jam at home. Getting to play Street Fighter 2 at home. Mortal Kombat with blood at home. You know, like all these things that I'm seeing, and it was right in my, that was in my really like, all right, Nintendo hit me in the beginning and got me hooked, and then the Genesis kind of cemented it. And what's funny is I had wanted a Super Nintendo, and I would borrow, like I would trade with Richie. I would let him borrow my Genesis, and I'd borrow his Super Nintendo, and then I would play like Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball or whatever. But the other thing that the Genesis was really good for was sports games. So Super Baseball 2020, the Madden games, Triple Play Gold, World Series Baseball, NHL
NBA
90,
Jam.
NBA Jam, yeah, NBA Jam Tournament Edition. There were so many good sports games, and I feel like the Genesis did it the best. And I mean, that's objective, and you know, it seems to be the way that everybody kind of went with that. Like even the magazines were like, oh no, the sports games definitely play better on the Genesis. But I just, yeah, man, Genesis has to be number 2 on this list for me.
I think that holds up too, the sports game thing, because I mean, I remember playing sports games on the Super Nintendo, but if I'm apples to apples on it, the sports games for the Genesis were way better. You know, at least, and I'm thinking like just the basic ones for me were more the ones that I don't even know that you mentioned, for the Mutant League Football and Mutant League Hockey.
I was just gonna say, I don't know how I even missed Mutant League Hockey. It's sitting in my closet right now.
Yeah,
But Mutant League Hockey, one of my favorite games of all time. Amazing game. And not done on the Super Nintendo. Not, you know, Mutant League Football didn't get done on the Super Nintendo, but they were there on Genesis.
Hey, 30 years ago, kids, we had games where fans were throwing chainsaws on the ice. So
yeah, and then the players are picking them up and using them.
Katie
Let's see LeBron James do that.
No, it's that's, you know, you're right though, and I don't know, there were some just fun things too about the Genesis. I always enjoyed just the fast platformers, like, you know, the Sonic games was always, to me, just fun. I'm not saying that they were any better than any Mario game or whatever. I'm just saying they were fun. It was different. It was different pace.
Dude, and the X-Men games too. Like there were some really good licensed games for the Genesis that I was super. X-Men 1 and 2 were outstanding. Wolverine, Adamantium Rage came out, and it was like the bad, you know, that was considered a bad game, but it was still fun.
Yeah, no, there's just a litany of good titles on that one. So, all right,
sorry, I overtook my time. I kept on jumping in, but
we're not on a time here, dude.
I see the rest of my time.
30 seconds.
All right, go ahead, Bink.
So I was a Nintendo long hauler, and I played Genesis at my buddy's houses, but I never had one. So I went to my number 2 is PlayStation. So I don't get me wrong, I love Genesis and amazing things that you were saying, but I never had the system, so that's why I'm not counting it. So growing up, I had to buy my own shit on video games, so like a new system was a lot. So that's why I stuck a long time with NES. But the PlayStation, I got it, you know, maybe freshman year of college, and playing it in the dorms with all my buddies, and then, you know, Final Fantasy VII on it was just. I mean, I know I failed a couple classes because of that. Um, I just enjoy the sports games with my buddies. My one buddy got high and he was laughing at the shot clock. I mean, just shit like that on NBA Live. So just college was basically PlayStation, and I mean, I got a PlayStation 5 sitting here that I play all the time, and I was a PlayStation guy, and I'm still a PlayStation guy.
Yeah, and the original PlayStation had some just phenomenal titles on top.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know,
it's like the
the
Nintendo. You got those titles that have just gone.
Birth of Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games, and I've been playing a lot of lately, the Wipeout series, birthed on the original PlayStation, which always reminded me of other games that obviously were not that title, but predated that on other systems or arcades. Destruction Derby is one of my favorites.
Tony Hawk was
the Tony Hawk games, originals. Yep. There's a litany of just amazing things for that.
Plus, also, we got free video games too because my one buddy's a klepto, and we would go to Walmart here in Carbondale, and he knew how to slit the side, pull out the game, and we'd have blank CDs, and we put the blank CD in the place of the actual game, put it back in there, and so we just gave him a shopping list of what games we wanted. So I always had new games.
Damn. God damn. Bink the felon over here.
I was an accomplice to a felon.
Dude, it's Illinois now. It's not even a misdemeanor.
No, that the PlayStation was actually the first system I bought for myself aside from like handhelds.
Mhm.
Like if you don't count like Game Boys and stuff, like that was the first system I bought for myself. So I definitely have some fond memories of that. But yeah, that was a good one. All right, Tom, what do you got?
All right. This is where it gets weird because, man, a lot of fond memories of the Genesis and a lot of fond memories of the Super Nintendo. I was trying to go like chronologically as best I could with it. And I settled on the 64. And really a lot of reason in that is because of just fond memories I had playing multiplayer games with Bob. You were one of them for many, many of those hours. But, Brooks and Ewan and John Reebok and all these other guys that we played games with over the years. Man, how many times will we sit there and play GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and Mario Kart and just these different things that we just played over and over and over and over again. Like that was like the first system that we really dove in on, that it wasn't like, well, I want to game with everybody, but I can game with more than just one other person, or I don't have to drag like a desktop computer over and have a LAN party.
Yeah, it felt like the first multiplayer system.
Right. Like we could sit there and we did. I mean, man, I don't know how many times, like that's just so many fond memories of just, and especially GoldenEye, and that's one of the systems. Bob, I think the 64 that I have now is from you. So what was my original? I think you gave me one, I believe.
Yeah, I mailed you one a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, and I've got that downstairs actually, and I've got a copy of Perfect Dark and a copy of GoldenEye and a couple of controllers. One of them's a little drifty, but but it's still cool because it's like I still have it. It's fun. But it just so many fond memories of just that end of high school, just starting college. Just absolutely love that system, and that's kind of where I was more going with. It was just like the memories. And Danielle and I played Perfect Dark I don't know how many times when we first really started dating, and or at least I would play it and she would sit there and watch me and put up with my crap. But no, I mean it's just one of those things, and I'd be remiss if I said that one of the best games of all time, Bob.
Conquer's Bad Fur Day.
Very good.
I was to say that or GoldenEye. It's
No, I already said that several times. I
Yeah, I know.
purposefully
I'm
did not
just
say the best game of all time that we spent hours and
Yeah.
hours and hours and
Conker's
hours.
Bad Fur Day, dude. Holy shit.
How
Talk
many
about
times did we play the beach?
oh my god. Dude,
You almost can't
seriously.
believe Nintendo made a game like that.
Right?
With how family friendly they are.
Right? It was crazy. That game was insane. And the funny thing is, when it got released and it was supposed to be the uncensored version, they for Xbox, they uncensored certain things and then they recensored things that were never censored in the first place. And it was like, what are you doing? I thought this was like the good one. No, you ruined it. You ruined it.
And you could go down, to me, you go down the rabbit hole with certain games too. But I played a ton of WCW, NWO Revenge. The wrestling engine on that system was almost second to none, and
Yep.
it's still very heralded to this day. Thanks a lot to WWF No Mercy. You know, but yeah, you could go on and on with that one. Absolutely love that system, and it was the first time you actually had, like, basically, to me, an insane controller. Like, that controller made no sense. If you guys ever recall the first time you touched
yeah.
the Nintendo 64 controller, you're like, what planet?
Which one do I
did this
grab?
Yeah, what planet did this come from? Which way do you hold it? Because this doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's
I
like
never raged so hard over a fucking controller in my life.
the first time you took off a woman's bra, and you're like, what do I do? What do I do?
Really though,
It's like watching
Like
Total
you-
Recall. It's like,
There's three of them. What do I do?
oh man. All right, Kyler, what say you, sir?
man. So again, I have to go with like a history type. So my cousin Shannon, they were the big gamers, and so when my dad, before my dad moved down, or moved to Paducah, actually, like I would spend a few days at my aunt's house and then a few days at my grandma's. Whatever, I would be so excited to go to my aunt's house, Aunt Pat, because they had a Sega Genesis, and this was like the first time that I didn't even own the console, but I actually saved up money allowance and bought games for a console that I didn't even own. And so, yeah, I was just obsessed. You know, the first games that really stood out to me on that one was like, obviously Sonic the Hedgehog was, top tier on that one, but I played the Jungle Book, Lion King. I don't know if you guys remember this game, but it's called Shaq Fu.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Remind me. I got stories about Shaq Fu.
Oh, we've
Yeah.
got podcasts about that game.
That
Oh yeah.
phenomenal game. No, Streets of Rage,
Yeah, Streets of Rage was so.
Earthworm Jim. I bought that was my first purchase for say it was the Earthworm Jim.
Nice.
I saved up like, I don't know, almost like a month's worth of allowance for that game. But like there was so many others. That was the first introduction where they had like jet fighter games that were actually pretty decent. Power Rangers, like there was one that I played, started out, and I didn't realize it until I just looked it up how much money it's worth, and that's RoboCop versus the Terminator. That game they're saying on sale at Lukey Games is $150 for that game. And my cousin already had it. I didn't pay for it or anything, but like, I love that game. So I just got to go with the Sega Genesis because like that was the second console I've ever played, being alive. I know I'm younger than everybody here, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I love RoboCop versus Terminator, man. That was one of my favorite. I love that. It's a great platformer. It's it's one of those games that I don't know that I really appreciated it when I first touched it, and then as time grew on, I got a lot more fonder memories of it, and then I would pick it up again, playing emulators and stuff with it, and that's a fun game. But no, you're right. Genesis.
My favorite game was Primal Rage.
Oh,
that was my
Primal Rage
favorite
is
game.
fun. Yeah.
That was so much fun. It was my first introduction to like mindless, just video gaming. I didn't have to
Button
really
mashing.
think. Yeah, pretty much. So
Yeah, no, and Bobby brought it with Genesis. We're talking about you mentioned it, Super Baseball 2020. But just those titles, just all over that. It's almost hard not to pick that system. I actually had one, and I couldn't pick it just for the sheer fact that it was like the same reason that Bob and Bink, you guys, and I picked the Nintendo. It was because to me that was the precursor. That's what brought me in.
Hmm.
But the Genesis, like, had the Nintendo not existed and the Genesis was the first for me, easily would have been, just because there's so many good things I played for it and had for it too.
I mean, John Madden Sports Talk, that started the whole John Madden franchise.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It was my introduction to Pitfall too. Like actually play. I've seen other people play Pitfall, but like
Mine
I
was
played
on Atari.
Pitfall. Yeah, not me. That was like
for your time.
there was so many games that you could play and get for Genesis. It was unreal. Like you don't see that with any platform other than maybe PC today. So
Actually, on the Nintendo Switch Online service, which I pay for, but I don't hardly use, which is sad. But the one game I'll go back and play a lot is Columns.
Oh, I love Columns.
Ooh.
Yeah, which I'm a huge Tetris person. Anyone that knows me worth a half a darn that's my game. But Columns, man, I love Columns so much because it's so easy to learn, yet it's so challenging, and has great theme music through it. The color scheme is great. It's very simple, but it's just a fun puzzle game. And Sega just, again, another home run for the Genesis there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for my third pick, and this is, I mean, look, this one's hard because I could go Dreamcast. I loved my Dreamcast. I had a lot of fun with it. GameCube is one of my favorite systems of all time. I feel like it's where Nintendo really solidified a lot of their titles. Obviously Mario was Mario and Zelda was Zelda, but like some of their other stuff like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart Double Dash, which Mario Kart 64 I think solidified the Mario Kart franchise, but Double Dash was really
Double
cool.
Dash is amazing.
Yeah. But I think I'm gonna have to go with the 360 because that was the first console that I bought on my own on launch day. And I think that it was the very first console that generation was like, the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation was the generation that really started the games as pop culture. And the 360, PS3, and Wii generation was the generation that really solidified that. And what I mean by that is, like, do you guys remember the launch of Halo 3? And how insane it was? There was there was stuff at 7-Eleven, there was stuff at like every retailer, Doritos, like everybody had Halo. Mountain Dew. Yeah, the Code Black or whatever it was. They had like all these different Code Red, Code Black. They had all these different things, and it was such a multimedia like event that I just and like other games came out for that. Gears of War is one of my favorite franchises of all time. Crackdown's an amazing game. To me, the Xbox 360 is kind of where I started getting back into, I guess more Xbox is where I got into MVP baseball and stuff like that. I was still playing NFL 2K5 on my 360, and I still had been. It's been a lot of games. Burnout 3 or Burnout 2, which Tom, we played a shit.
I love Burnout.
Yes, we did.
Just the crash mode. We didn't even race. We just did crash mode. Like that was it. Like nonstop. There was just so much for that console. NCAA football 2008, I think I played probably 15 or 20 seasons in that.
I had a buddy who played that so much they ran out of generating names.
Get out, really?
Yeah, it was like 25 years or 25 seasons, and it ran out of names.
That's awesome. And then like stuff that came out for that, like the Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron that came out for that were amazing games. And I mean, that was a multi-platform, but still, and it was also the generation that really introduced online gaming, because I'd never played online before, like here and there playing on the computer, but not much. But this was the first system where I played with people all over the place. I played Gears of War. I used to play all the time with my friends. Gears of War 2, same thing, online playing. I never really got into Halo with it, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare, playing that on there, and the launch events for those games. ODST, one of my favorite Halo games of all time, maybe one of my favorite games of all time. A lot of my favorite games either were on that system or started with that system. So it's more of a nostalgia thing for me, but yeah, that's Xbox 360 is going to be my choice, even though I do love my GameCube.
All right,
Yeah.
Bink, you want to follow up?
Sure. I'm gonna go. May not have been. I don't know. It was a great system, but it was more nostalgic with my friends. In college, the NES came out, or might have been my senior year of high school, whenever it was. But playing that in the dorms with my buddies, that's where we had the most fun. I mean, we just buy a 12 pack. Of course, we were all, legally able to drink at that time too, right? Um, but, just playing Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Party, and then like I was so ridiculously good at Mario Kart, my friends had to lap me before I could start because I knew where all the shortcuts were. I knew I had all these things down pat, and then they would just get pissed off and be like, "Pink, you either can't play tonight or you got to start a lap behind." And but just playing with my buddies and just laughing uncontrollably with those guys, and of course GoldenEye. And one game that we just absolutely love was Tetris, the four-person Tetris, and I still have the original game from it was my buddy's, but his system broke. He's like, Bink, you have to have this because it still has our top scores on the game.
Oh,
Nice.
nice. That's sweet.
Yeah. So I still have that, and it's more about the memories. And of course, there's some amazing games with it, but I think it's the nostalgia of it.
We're gonna have to play Tetris against each other one time, by the way.
All right. On the N64, the top level I got to was level 21.
I'll play on whatever system you want.
Yeah, it was
Damn,
screaming
Tom's like,
down.
yo, I'm just gonna fucking murder you.
I'm sure he probably will. How high have you gone?
Dude, the funny thing is, so it's a very nostalgic thing for me. My mom was absolutely insanely good at Tetris for the original Nintendo.
Yeah, so was my mom.
Insanely good. And so my whole goal was to try to compete to her level. Never could. No, I play a ton of Tetris 99 now. Well, not anymore really, but on the Switch, and Tetris Effect connected.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun one too. If you're into the synth wavy type stuff. But
I know on the NES I've maxed out the scores because it gets to 9s and that's all it goes.
But if you beat me, then we'll play Scrabble, and then I know I can beat you at something.
I can't spell worth of shit, so you can.
You gonna beat him with a Thai banana?
Yeah.
Tom, I'll play you in Scrabble.
Okay, I appreciate
Would
that.
you, bro?
I'll beat you
I can-
too.
I can spell at an 8th grade level.
Oh, you're way higher than I am then.
Those are literally the only games I'm actually half decent at. Any other game you guys would pick, I'd die all the time. Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, while I'm in South Carolina, we're gonna have to have a game night. I've got 8 billion card games, so. And Tom, you've had a sampling of my Cards Against Humanity deck.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, I bought all the expansion packs and got rid of all the shitty ones, and kept all the good ones too.
I did that, and then I wrote a whole bunch of my own, and I think some of them might be considered a war crime in some companies or in some countries.
Is Horsecock still in play, Tom?
I hope it
Dude,
is.
that is so tame compared to the shit that's in my
Oh man. Of course, good old Matt Hill's not around anymore to write the cards.
I know,
right?
Still one of my favorite cards is kids with ass cancer. I don't know why.
Jesus Christ, Richard!
This is tough. This really is. Obviously, I went Nintendo. I went 64. I'd never owned a GameCube ever, so I need to cross it off the list immediately. I played enough GameCube. I just never actually owned one, which is strange sounding for me. I've owned every single one of these other systems, though, including one that I actually thought was going to be on here, the Sega Saturn, which I sold to Bob, but is not on the list. I'm going to go PS2, and I'm going to go PS2 for one game and one game only, because it's one of the games I play all the time. I will always play, and I probably bought this game maybe the second most, only to Skyrim, because I bought Skyrim like 5 different times. It's Twist Metal Black, PS2.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big Twist Metal fan. I was easily thinking about going PS1 for this reason, for the same games that Bink mentioned earlier. But no, I've got to go PS2 just because it's one of the games that's installed right now on my PS5. I love the fact that I've been able to play it on every single PlayStation that I've owned since it came out for the PS2. In fact, when I bought the digital download on the PS3, I believe it actually threw an error somehow, some way along the way, and I had to fix it to get it back on my PS5 because of my account was open for that long. It was either that or Twisted Metal 2. I can't remember. One of the games threw an error for me. Anyway, yeah, I can't. And yeah, I can't tell you how many hours I played Madden and NCAA and Raw versus SmackDown. You want to talk about just titles that I played PS2 wise? That was my college system. That's what we did. Nick and I burned a lot of hours on that. I broke a lot of controllers. I mean, that was it. That was the system. That's what we played. Man, it was just, yeah, I absolutely love that. I have my PS2 still. I do not know if it works. I don't even know if I have any titles for it. I just have the system. Isn't that sad? I think it's sitting in a drawer.
I can help you out if the disk drive is broken. I can walk you through a couple things.
It's the sad thing that I actually have this stuff and I don't even know if it works. I just don't even know.
Hey, as long as it boots up, even if the fan doesn't spin, I can get you running with a full complement of games for $30, I think.
Dang, might hit you up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been sitting in a drawer for 10 years, so who knows?
I'll send
Couldn't
you.
you also burn? Was it PS1 games or PS2 games and play them?
Dreamcast, if you had a special ISO, but
Dreamcast. Okay.
I never knew with the PlayStation.
My buddy had that. Yeah.
They use the dark colored discs, so you had to have the special discs to do it.
I know, Bob, you had gotten me a copy. Was it Nestor that worked for the Dreamcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I still I don't know that I might actually stop my Dreamcast too with that disc actually in storage. Now I think about it, but yeah. So I actually years and years ago, Bob actually had got me a copy of Nestor, which was an emulator for the Dreamcast, so you play all the Nintendo games. And that's how I had all the Nintendo games. And I still have that. That disc might still be loaded into my Dreamcast.
Hey, there you go, buddy.
Get
up.
All right, Kyler. Last but not least, sir.
So I got to thinking about this for a second as you guys were talking. You said we can only have 3, right? Can I take one away and replace it?
Well, we've only gone 2.
Yeah, I
want to do 2 new ones.
Oh, you want to do 2 new ones?
Yeah, I want to do 2 new ones. I want to replace the Sega Genesis.
All right.
So, and I'll make it really quick. So I'll replace that one with the PS1. That was my very first console that I owned that I got for Christmas. And that's what really kind of got me, like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, the Tekken series, the original Medal of Honor. I played that non-stop.
Dude, I forgot about those games.
Yes.
Yes. Soul Reaver, Siphon Filter, like, oh my gosh, like everybody talks about Metal Gear Solid and you know, those kind of preceding games, but like Siphon Filter for me, that was the pinnacle of that. And that's actually the PS1's where I got my introduction to Diablo. They came out with a copy of Diablo to work on the PS1, which transitioned me to PC whenever I did get a PC for Diablo 2. But yeah, that's the PS1 replaces my Sega Genesis by far. I wasn't thinking right, I guess, when it came out with that.
Dude,
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like,
Oh yeah,
Dude,
Tony.
I got to speak on that real quick. Diablo for the PlayStation is a fun game, by the way. It really is.
it's so fun.
Yeah.
I still play Diablo 2. Like, they came out with a remastered version of it, so it's like better graphics. And dude, oh my gosh, like
But you
going
probably play
through
for
and
P-
being
you play for the PC though, don't you?
yeah, I was playing for PC because like I play Diablo 4 quite a bit still. So like that, the Diablo series was just that's when I really fell in love with gaming was those RPG games. So yeah, but my third one, or I guess my third one would be the Xbox 360. The reason why is just like some of you guys said, like the 360 was when I started playing with friends and I started kind of connecting with people and playing like a lot of the Call of Duty, Red Dead Redemption. Shoot, there's so many freaking games. BioShock, like I can't tell you how many hours and hours I played in BioShock. LA Noire when it came out. That was a fantastic game. Guitar Hero. Like I played the shit out of Guitar Hero 3 just because I liked playing guitar. I was into guitar at the time, so like that was just a lot of fun for me just to come home from school or like my senior year. NCAA football 08. I think I had the 08 one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really good. But yeah, like that's just like, and obviously the Halo series, like Gears of War. I was a huge into Gears of War. I would carry my console around everywhere I went. It didn't matter if I went to my grandma's or wherever. And if I wanted to take two games, that was Gears of War was the one game that I would take out of the two, and I would constantly play that. I'll play anybody in Gears of War, and I haven't played it in forever, but like I'm pretty confident that I can get my skills back on that because I was fucking good at that game.
You probably kill me because I'm terrible at anything that requires shooting. You want to spell like 4 or 5 letter words though. Come on. No, this has been fun. It's funny you said Medal of Honor. I completely forgot about that game.
That was the game that made me get a PlayStation in college. Was because I was like, oh, dude, I got to play Medal of Honor. Because I was thinking about N64, and then I saw Medal of Honor, and I'm like, nope, it's got to be PlayStation.
I want to thank Walmart again for that game.
between Medal of Honor and what was the football game that was like Blitz that Sony put out?
Oh,
it was like NFL Frenzy or NFL. I forget what it was, but the game I remember it had Mike Allstott.
NFL Extreme.
Yes.
Because they had the 98 version and then it had NFL Extreme 2 that had who's that Baltimore number 93? I can't think of his name. He's on the cover of it.
Ray Lewis?
No,
Yeah,
he was 53
predated him
no.
even.
or 52. He was, I think.
He was 52. Yeah. Yeah, that predated him.
Oh,
Yeah,
Tony Seguri or Tony
Siragusa.
Siragusa?
Oh,
Nah,
Siragusa? No.
nah, Siragusa wasn't on the cover of that one.
Uh,
Why is Siri try? I said Siragusa, and Siri's trying to put her nose into it.
trying
Let's
to find
see.
it?
No, it was 93 for the Vikings. It was John Abraham.
Oh yeah, but I saw the purple.
Yeah,
I thought the Ravens.
yeah. I didn't
Oh,
think about
'cause
that.
it was.
Sad thing is, I didn't even like look it up. I just thought about it for a second, and that's how much of a fucking nerd I am. It's that I was like, oh yeah,
Oh, the cover.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
the cover athlete was John Randall. That's who it is.
John Randall.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Who
for
did I
the
say?
John Abraham. Is that who you said?
Oh yeah, I said John Abraham. Yeah, it's John Randall because he used
John
to draw.
Anthony Randall.
Yeah.
Oh well.
He had official stat in 1980. He had 137 and a half sacks. 2010, he was in the Hall of Fame. He actually went undrafted in after the 1990 NFL draft, and considered the greatest undrafted player of all time.
Yeah. So
One
shame on us
of
for
the-
shame on us for not knowing who he was.
Yeah.
Well, fuck him. He's a Viking.